Hello, this is Bibimbap, and today I'm gonna talk about the dating issue in South Korea because of the pandemic. So, a lot of people stay indoor and they don't have chance to even meet their friends and people, so of course it is a lot more difficult to go out for a date. So, gat친 is like being stuck and it's single, so single. And about 70% of people said that they haven't met any new different gender. So that means like go for dates. Of course, there's a same gender dating and stuff, but in general, Korea doesn't really use that kind of thing, so they just use different gender. So they haven't met. Also, this newspaper is quite conservative side, so yeah. Anyway, so because of the remote work, they really have low chance to meet and date. And actually they have been like that, and it's not just this year, but steadily the dating, the marriage rate, and that also leads to the birth rate, they all decrease steadily. Quite severely actually for the birth rate. So they are kind of used to it, and they actually said some of them said that they don't really care, They don't even want to get married, and like they don't really care. Um, and the those like decrease of birth rate is not just South Korea, but it's everywhere. So a lot of countries, except for certain countries like Nigeria or Ethiopia and Mali or those Niger, those countries actually increase their population about 2% each year from 2010 to 2017. But there are also a lot of countries, actually more countries, have this decrease of population. And the top is basically South Korea because their birth rate has been decreased crazy. So like already in 2018, it's below 1%. So it's a 0.98, and then year later it's 0.92. The 2020 was 0.84, and they estimate this year it's likely to be 0.70 something, which is crazy. And it's already the lowest in the whole world, like 198 countries. So the school's gonna be pretty empty, and maybe in the future, you don't really see much kids in a park, much kids in a hospital or something. So already a lot of those hospital to take care of the birth, they are really, really severely decreasing. Um, and like people say that they don't really want to get married, they don't want to really have children. So this is gonna only worse. And even CIA said that, this is quite worrisome. Yeah, because it's too low, and sooner or later there will be more old people because those average expected age is really, really high. But because of the low birth rate, a lot of the youngsters will get more like pressure to pay the basically the medical fee or the tax, because they need to support more the older generation. And that's going to be even more severe because there's quite a huge decrease of the population. The good side is that the education and all those welfare and those caring can focus on the less people, and also there wouldn't be any more those unnecessary competition. like to go to university, to get a job, and all those things will be less stressful for those new generation because simply there are not that many competitors. So instead of making unnecessary difficult testing and those, they can actually fully focus on the quality education and like in the new generation and already a lot of those startup companies make a lot of great money and they don't necessarily have that many people. And with the AI and all those technologies, it might not be a problem. But if it's not that case, then it can be a huge problem. So we can either focus on increasing the birth rate, which doesn't really work so far, or they can focus on a better education for individual so that each person can actually do more fun thing and do more, more like the higher value per the person. So in that sense, that can be both for each part, like they also make a huge profit, and at the same time they don't need to go through much competition, and this education and care can be more quality based rather than a quantity based. There's also a different problem, which is a suicidal problem. So this is today's news that these high school students actually saved one person who was going to suicide. They were steadily and persistently help the police officers and that person so that they pretty much prohibited him from killing himself. So the firefighters gave these students kind of those awards that they did a great job. Um, so Korea has been a really, 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 really high in the suicide rate for quite some time. Um, a lot of high competition and also this economical problem. So because of those, there have been a lot of suicidal. So on the survey, the biggest problem they feel or the biggest reason why they try to or feel like killing themselves was this economical problem. And this is definitely worse during this pandemic because a lot of people cannot do the business. They lose a lot of customers and those. So some of this company have a hard time, so they might have let some of their employees go. And then the physical and the mental illness problem. And that can also link to this economical problem because of this physical illness. They might not have a chance to get a job that they want, or with those mental illness too. And then the loneliness and this conflict in the family and the work problem. This is actually connected with those low birth rate too. A lot of people say that they are not really sure about their job, and this paycheck is not as high as this housing market going up. So many youngsters are worried about that, they might never get a house. So they call it like catching a star to buy the house for these young generations. So because of this frustration, many people gave up getting married, and also people want to focus on more job and education. So the marriage rate is decreasing, and people also don't really focus much on the dating. And if it's also the value difference, I think that should be also respected. But if it's the case that people actually want to get married, or not just married, but just having a children, regardless of marriage or not, then they should do. But then if they cannot because of this economical problem or some issues, and I think there should be a support so that people want to have can have without those stress or budget problem. So please tell me what you think about these issues in South Korea. And today, um, again, thank you for listening to this video. And yeah, see you next time.